Everyone, do you know that refrigerators keep food fresh? We've all believed that refrigerators preserve the freshness and health of food. But is that really true? Refrigeration actually suffocates food, destroys its health, and even turns some foods into carcinogens. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm telling you this based on actual research and studies. I'm going to tell you about 7 foods that become tools the moment you put them in the fridge. What do you have in your fridge right now? Open the vegetable drawer. Do you have potatoes? Did you put onions or garlic in there too? But here's the thing. When you leave a potato in the cold, it transforms itself, like a tree trying to survive winter. The sugar turns into sugar, and when you cook or fry it, it turns into a carcinogen called acrylamide. Even the World Preservation Organization has recognized it as a carcinogen. Hello, my name is Dr. Kongo Sok, and I've been studying senior health in the United States for 20 years. I've realized one thing: health isn't something special. The food you eat today, the ingredients you store today, those small habits shape who you will be 10 years from now. All 7 of the foods I'll share with you today are equally important. The third food, in particular, is something you might not expect. If you watch the video until the end, I'll explain everything from proper storage methods to healthy eating. Please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. Please share this health information with your friends and siblings. Your small gestures can protect the health of those you care about. Now, I'll introduce you to the 7 foods one by one. The first of the 7 is potatoes. Did you see potatoes on your dinner table last night? Potato pancakes, braised potatoes, stir-fried potatoes. Potatoes are an ingredient that appears almost every day on our tables. By the way, if you've been storing these potatoes in the refrigerator, you need to change them starting today. Yes. Why is that? Potatoes are a vegetable that originally grows underground. The temperature underground is usually between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius. Potatoes are most comfortable in this temperature. But what about the refrigerator? It's about 3 degrees Celsius. From a potato's perspective, it's extremely cold. What happens when you leave a potato in such a cold place? The potato undergoes a change in its body to survive. It starts converting the starch into sugar. Why is that? Well, sugar doesn't freeze and is easier to use as energy than starch. Just like a person shivers to generate heat when they're cold, this potato is changing its body as a survival instinct. Up until this point, you might think the potato is just getting sweet. But the real problem starts now. What happens when you fry these high-sugar potatoes in hot oil over 120 degrees Celsius or bake them for 5 minutes? The sugars and amino acids in the potatoes combine to create a substance called acrylamide. This becomes clearer if you look at the data released by the Korean Society of Food Science and Technology. If you fry these French fries at 160 degrees Celsius for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 503 ppb of acrylamide is created. But what happens if you raise the temperature to 180 degrees Celsius? It increases by 776 ppb. That's more than a 50% increase with just a 20-degree increase. So how is this bad for our bodies? Let me explain it simply. When this acrylamide enters our body, it first attacks the liver. The liver is our body's detoxification factory, but it becomes exhausted from processing these toxins. Then, it damages nerve cells. Symptoms may include memory loss and numbness in the extremities. In the long term, it creates an environment in which cancer cells grow. There are research results that show that it increases the risk of stomach cancer, colon cancer, and liver cancer in particular. Let me give you an actual case. There's a study published in 2016 by Nagoya Medical School in Japan. They followed 52 middle-aged men who ate French fries made from refrigerated potatoes more than 5 times a week for over 6 months, and 18 of them developed gastric antral damage. The most severe cases were reported in those who cooked the refrigerated potatoes at a high temperature. There are similar cases in the United States. In 2019, a man in his 60s in California who frequently ate French fries visited a hospital complaining of chronic fatigue and indigestion, and his liver function tests showed that his liver function was 2.5 times higher than normal. When medical professionals investigated their eating habits, they found that they ate frozen French fries almost every day. Freezing can cause the same problems as refrigerating. What's even more shocking is that this actually happened in Korea. According to data released by the Korean Cancer Prevention Association in 2022, the group that ate French fries and potato pancakes 3 or more times a week had a 1.7 times higher incidence of stomach cancer than the group that ate them less than once a week. The risk was particularly high when potatoes were cooked using refrigerated potatoes. So, how should you store potatoes? First, never put them in the refrigerator. Potatoes are best stored in a cool place between 7 and 10 degrees Celsius. Store them in a place out of direct sunlight, such as a sink or corner of a veranda. Second, wrap them in newspaper or a paper bag before storing. This will keep them fresh longer by blocking moisture and allowing ventilation. Third, block out light completely. When potatoes are exposed to light, a toxic substance called solanine is produced and they turn green. Yes, you should turn the green part over and eat it. Yes, you also need to be careful when cooking. First, soaking potatoes in 60 degrees Celsius water for about 45 minutes can reduce silver acrylamide by up to 85%. Second, keep the frying temperature below 150 degrees Celsius. Oven temperatures below 200 degrees Celsius are safe. Third, cook the potatoes only until golden brown and do not brown them. Browning means that a lot of acrylamide has already been produced. Finally, I'll tell you one more thing. When cooking these potatoes, sprinkle the pepper later. Research shows that adding pepper during cooking increases the silver acrylamide content by more than 10 times. Oh, one small habit can completely change your health. But potatoes aren't the only problem. You also use this food every day. I'll talk about it right away. The second of the 7 is onions. Everyone, you added onions to your soup this morning, right? Onions are a staple on our tables every day. They're used in soups, stews, stir-fries, and side dishes. But if you store onions in the refrigerator, you'll run into a big problem. Onions really hate moisture, just like paper. When paper gets wet, it becomes mushy. Oh, and onions are the same. What about the refrigerator? The humidity is usually maintained at around 85% to 95%. From the onion's perspective, it's a humid environment, like being in a sauna. If you put an onion in the refrigerator, its moisture will cause its tissues to soften. Even if it looks fine on the outside, the inside has already started to spoil. If you peel the skin, the inside is slippery and moist. This is evidence of tissue damage due to moisture. The bigger problem is mold. Cold, damp environments are mold's favorite conditions. If you look inside the skin of an onion in your refrigerator, you'll sometimes see green or black spots. These are mold. So, how does this affect our health? Let me give you an actual example. There's a study published by Chonam National University in 2021. They surveyed 30 households that ate food cooked with refrigerated onions for more than 3 months, and in 13 of those households, family members complained of chronic indigestion and diarrhea. They investigated the cause and found it was due to toxins produced by mold growing in the refrigerator. In particular, a toxin called aflatoxin was detected, which gradually damages the liver. Initially, you may only feel fatigue, but over time, liver function declines, and in severe cases, it can lead to cirrhosis. Similar cases have been reported in Japan. According to data released by a research team at Osaka Medical University in 2019, a woman in her 60s who had consumed refrigerated onions for a long period of time visited a hospital with chronic headaches and dizziness. Blood tests revealed her liver function levels had risen to 300, which was normal. Medical staff investigated her eating habits and discovered she had been consuming onions stored in the refrigerator for over 3 months. After changing her onion storage method and retesting 3 months later, her liver function levels returned to normal. There's also a case in Korea. Park Soon-ya, a 68-year-old woman living in Suwon, Gyeonggi Province, continued to consume refrigerated onions until one day she began feeling bloated and having indigestion. At first, she thought it was just her age, so she only ate digestive aids, but the symptoms worsened, leading her to seek medical attention. The test results showed inflammation in her stomach lining. The doctor asked me in detail about my eating habits and pointed out how to store onions. Onions left in the refrigerator for a long time can contain mold toxins, which irritate the stomach lining and cause inflammation. The South Korean policy briefing clearly states this. The proper way to store onions is to keep them unpeeled in a cool, well-ventilated place. Another problem with onions is nutrient loss. Onions are rich in the antioxidant quercetin, but this nutrient rapidly declines when refrigerated. Research shows that quercetin levels drop by more than 30% after just 2 weeks in the refrigerator. Quercetin strengthens blood vessels and lowers blood pressure, so if this oxidization is lost, you won't see the full health benefits of eating onions. So how should you store onions? First, store them unpeeled. Onion skins act as a natural protective layer, protecting the onions from external moisture and bacteria. Second, place them in a net or basket and store them in a well-ventilated area. A cool, dry place is ideal. A well-ventilated area like a corner of a balcony or under a sink is perfect. Third, keep them away from potatoes. The pungent aroma of onions permeates the potatoes, causing them to sprout more quickly. It's best to store them at least 90 centimeters away. One thing to be careful about here: onions that have already been cut or peeled are an exception. If you've cut an onion in half, store it in an airtight container and refrigerate it. However, it's best to use it quickly within a week. Next to onions, there's something else important: garlic. It's the third of the 7 garlics. Garlic can be considered the onion's sibling. However, garlic requires more caution than onions, especially the green garlic that's been used a lot these days. You guys buy peeled garlic at the market or supermarket, right? It's hard to peel, so it's easier to buy it already peeled. But if you store peeled garlic in the refrigerator, there's a big problem. Take peeled garlic out of the refrigerator. Yes, it's sticky and mushy, right? Yes, it turns green when you chop it. Oh, and it smells weird too. It's all because of the refrigerator. Oh, garlic starts to oxidize the moment the skin is peeled from the air. It's like an apple that turns brown when you peel it, but if you add the cold environment of the refrigerator to this, the problem becomes serious. First, peeled garlic rapidly absorbs moisture in the refrigerator. Since the humidity in this refrigerator is over 80%, the unpeeled garlic absorbs that moisture like a sponge. That's why it becomes mushy and sticky. Second, if you refrigerate peeled garlic, its key ingredient, allicin, will be rapidly destroyed. Research shows that even if you refrigerate peeled garlic for just 3 days, the allicin content will decrease by more than 60%. It loses nutrients much faster than whole garlic. Third, the same thing happens even if you store it in an airtight container. Many people store peeled garlic in an airtight container and refrigerate it, but this can actually be more dangerous. In a closed environment with limited oxygen, a dangerous bacteria called Clostridium botulinum can grow. The toxin produced by this bacteria can cause nerve paralysis even in trace amounts. So, what effect does this have on our health? Let me give you an actual example. There was a study published in 2022 by the Catholic University of Korea College of Medicine. They surveyed 50 people in their 60s who ate refrigerated garlic for 3 months, and 35 of them showed symptoms of a weakened immune system. Now I catch colds often, I get tired easily, and my mouth often gets sore. Why is that? Because garlic no longer contains allicin, which helps strengthen the immune system. Allicin activates white blood cells to protect our bodies from bacteria and viruses, so when allicin disappears, our immunity plummets. What's more serious are digestive problems. According to data released in 2019 by the Department of Gastroenterology at Asan Medical Center in Seoul, patients who ate refrigerated garlic complained of heartburn and other dangerous symptoms 3 times more often than those who ate regular whole garlic. Why is that? It's because the enzymes in garlic deteriorate in the refrigerator and turn into substances that irritate the stomach lining. It's like eating spoiled food, making your stomach sensitive. This is the story of 68-year-old Choi Young-soo, who lives in Busan. This person ate a clove of peeled garlic every morning for his health. He bought peeled garlic at the supermarket and stored it in the refrigerator. However, recently, his stomach has been getting worse and he has had indigestion. He went to a hospital and had an endoscopy, and it was found to be dangerous. The doctor asked, "You eat garlic? How do you store it?" Quote, and pointed out that the garlic stored in the refrigerator was the problem. So, how should you store peeled garlic? First, if you bought peeled garlic, store it in the freezer. Yes, not refrigerate, but freeze. Divide it into single-use portions, wrap it in plastic wrap, and place it in the freezer. Frozen garlic prevents bacteria from growing and minimizes nutrient loss. Second, take out only the amount you need and use it right away. Don't thaw and then refreeze. Chop or slice it while it's still frozen and add it to your cooking. Third, refrigerate for a maximum of 3 days. Any longer is dangerous. If you've had minced garlic in the fridge for over a week, it's best to throw it away, even if it's a shame. What about whole garlic? It's simple. Just put the peel in a mesh bag or basket and store it in a cool, well-ventilated area. Yes, it's ideal at 15 to 18 degrees Celsius. This way, it can stay fresh for up to 6 months. Oh, and just changing how you store garlic can dramatically improve your immunity. You'll catch fewer colds, have easier digestion, and feel less tired. But the next food might surprise you. Did you know that even this food, known as a health food, can be ruined by the refrigerator? Mr. Lee. The fourth of the 7 is tomatoes. What comes to mind when you think of tomatoes? They're red, plump, and healthy fruits. They're one of Time magazine's top 10 superfoods. Tomatoes are known to be especially good for men's health. But the moment you put these good tomatoes in the refrigerator, their health benefits disappear. What's the biggest benefit of tomatoes? It's a component called lycopene. Lycopene is a powerful antioxidant that's excellent for preventing cancer and anti-aging. Many people eat tomatoes because they're especially good for men's prostate health. But what happens when you put tomatoes in the refrigerator? First, ripening stops. Tomatoes continue to ripen after they're picked from the tree, reaching their maximum lycopene content. Tomatoes like the temperature best between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius. Yes, it's like a warm spring day, but a refrigerator is around 3 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, tomato ripening completely stops. Second, cells are destroyed. If you store tomatoes below 5 degrees Celsius, Their cell membranes are damaged. Then, the moisture evaporates and the surface of the tomato becomes wrinkled. The texture becomes soft and the taste deteriorates. Third, the nutrients are destroyed. According to the results of a joint study by the University of Florida in the United States and Zhejiang University in China, when tomatoes are stored below 12 degrees Celsius for several days, hundreds of genes involved in the synthesis of flavor compounds are inactivated. Now, simply put, the refrigerator turns off the genetic switch that creates the taste and aroma of tomatoes. So, how does this affect men's health? Let me tell you a real-life example. This is the story of Kim Tae-young, 65, who lives in Gangnam, Seoul. He ate one tomato every morning for prostate health. He had seen information online that the ricin in tomatoes is good for prostate health. He went to the market and bought a bag of tomatoes and put them all in the refrigerator. He had been eating tomatoes consistently for 6 months, but his prostate levels actually worsened during an electric checkup. His prostate-specific antigen levels were higher than normal. He said he couldn't understand why he had such a result, even though he ate tomatoes every day. His doctor asked him more questions and checked how to store tomatoes. After finding out he had refrigerated them, he said, "If you refrigerate tomatoes, the lycopene won't form properly. It's just the skin that turns red, and it won't have any effect." Quote, in fact, a 2020 study by a Harvard University research team was shocking. It found that if you store tomatoes in a refrigerator for a week, their lycopene content decreases by up to 60%. And eating tomatoes without lycopene has virtually no effect on prostate health. Yes, there's something even more serious. Refrigerated tomatoes also rapidly lose vitamin C. A study by Pukeong National University found that tomatoes stored below 10 degrees Celsius lost over 40% of their vitamin C content. Kim Tae-young changed his storage method. He started taking tomatoes out of the refrigerator and placing them in a fruit basket. He waited until they turned red before eating them. 3 months later, when he had another checkup, his PSA level had dropped back to the normal range. Even the doctor was surprised. So, how should you store tomatoes? First, never refrigerate unripe tomatoes. Store them in a well-ventilated area in the garden and wait until they turn red. Just like flowers, tomatoes need to ripen slowly to properly develop their nutrients. Second, store fully ripe tomatoes at their freshest temperature if possible. If you plan to eat them within 2 to 3 days, this is much better than the refrigerator. Third, if you really need to store them for a long time, briefly refrigerate them 30 minutes before eating. You can minimize nutrient destruction while maintaining the refreshing feeling. The way you assemble tomatoes is also important to maximize the absorption of the ricin in tomatoes. When heated, ricin is absorbed more easily. According to data from Seoul National University Bundang Hospital, cooking tomatoes with olive oil maximizes the absorption of ricin. Eating them raw provides a lot of vitamin C, and cooking them provides a lot of ricin, so it's best to alternate between them. Properly storing just one tomato can improve men's health. But the next food is one you eat often. Cucumbers are the fifth of the 7. Did you have cucumber for lunch today? Or did you have cucumber cold noodles for dinner? Cucumbers are a vegetable that appears on our tables almost every day. They're an essential ingredient, especially in the summer. But have you ever taken a cucumber out of the fridge only to find it mushy and slimy? The seed part is mushy and oozes out water when you cut it. It's all because of the refrigerator. Cucumbers are a tropical vegetable native to India. Yes, they grow in warm places, so they really hate cold environments. If they encounter temperatures below 10 degrees Celsius, cucumbers suffer as if they're freezing to death. Since the refrigerator temperature is around 3 degrees Celsius, it's a problem for cucumbers. If you leave a cucumber in such a cold place, the cell walls begin to break down. Like ice melting, the cucumber tissue gradually breaks down. That's why cucumbers taken out of the refrigerator lose their characteristic crisp texture and become mushy. Even if they look fine on the outside, the inside has already changed. Yes, research shows that if you refrigerate oil, symptoms of chilling begin after just 2 days, and the membrane and texture are completely destroyed after 3 days. But this isn't just a texture issue. This also affects our health. Let me give you a real-world example. A study published in 2020 by the Department of Food and Nutrition at Seoul National University compared a group that consumed refrigerated oil with a group that consumed acid-stored oil for 3 months, and found a surprising difference. The group that consumed refrigerated perilla oil had an average of 28% lower digestive enzyme activity. Why? Because the cucumber cells were destroyed, enzymes that aid digestion were altered. As a result, twice as many people complained of abdominal bloating and indigestion. A research team at Kyoto University in Japan also reported similar results. In the 5 people who stored the oil in the refrigerator, the fiber structure was altered, preventing the beneficial gut bacteria from properly breaking it down. This actually caused gas and discomfort. In fact, Kim Soon-hee, a 72-year-old woman from Gwangju, used to drink a lot of oil every summer. However, after consuming oil stored in the refrigerator, she began experiencing persistent gas and bloating. Eating oil from the refrigerator didn't help, so she went to the hospital. The doctor asked her how to store her food. Did you refrigerate cucumbers? Cold cucumbers aren't properly digested in the intestines, which is why they cause gas and discomfort. When she changed her storage method and started eating cucumbers stored in a commercial area, her symptoms disappeared in just 2 weeks. What's more serious is the loss of nutrients. They're rich in vitamin K and potassium, but refrigerating them destroys more than 40% of the vitamin K. Vitamin K is essential for bone health and blood clotting, and this causes them to disappear. How should you store cucumbers? First, wrap them in newspaper and store them upright in a cool, dry place. Why store them upright? Cucumbers are vegetables that grow on vines. Storing them upright allows them to remain as comfortable as in their natural state. If you store them lying down, one side will be pressed down, and they will start to wilt from that point. Second, avoid moisture. If there's moisture on the surface of a cucumber, it will wilt quickly. It's best to store them wrapped in newspaper without washing them. Third, don't store them for too long. They're not vegetables that can be kept for a long time like potatoes or onions. It's best to store them in a container for 3 days. In the summer, store them in a relatively cool place, like a shaded veranda or under the sink. In the winter, anywhere indoors is fine. What should I do with cucumbers that have already been cut? Yaoun cucumbers are an exception. Store them in an airtight container and refrigerate them, but it's best to eat them quickly within a day or 2. Just by properly storing 1 cucumber, your summer table can become much more abundant. Oh, and you'll know the next dish the moment you see it. This is the fruit that changes color when you put it in the refrigerator. It's the 6th of 7, bananas. Bananas are great as a snack for your grandchildren or as a breakfast substitute. But have you ever taken a banana peel out of the refrigerator and noticed it's changed color? It's not just a color change. Bananas grow in tropical regions like the Philippines or Vietnam. They grow in warm places year-round, so they've never experienced the cold. So, bananas have no defense against the cold. A refrigerator temperature of 3 degrees Celsius is extremely cold for bananas. It's like someone living on a tropical island being suddenly thrown into an Arctic crab. Bananas can't withstand this cold and their cell walls begin to burst. When the cells are damaged, the enzymes inside leak out, oxidation occurs, and the peel quickly turns black. This isn't just a visible change. Something even more serious is happening inside. According to research, bananas stored at 13 degrees Celsius lose up to 80% of their vitamin C. So, what effect does this have on our health? Let me give you a real-life example. An interesting study published in 2018 by Boston University School of Medicine in the United States is that when 50 people in their 60s ate refrigerated bananas every day for 3 months, 37 of them reported catching colds more often than usual. Why is that? It's because the banana's vitamin C and vitamin B6 were destroyed, weakening their immunity. Vitamin C, in particular, activates our white blood cells to protect us from colds and viruses, so when 80% of this is lost, our immunity plummets. Similar cases have been reported in Korea. According to data released in 2022 by a research team at Yonsei University College of Medicine, a group of elderly people who ate refrigerated bananas had blood potassium levels 15% lower than normal. What happens when you lack potassium? You experience frequent muscle cramps, an irregular heartbeat, and fatigue. Potassium is especially important for those with high blood pressure, but refrigerated bananas don't provide adequate potassium. This is the story of Park Young-soo, a 70-year-old man living in Jeonju. He ate a banana every morning, always keeping it in the refrigerator. But recently, he started getting frequent calf cramps at night and constant fatigue. He went to the hospital for a blood test, and his potassium levels were lower than normal. The doctor asked, "You eat bananas every day? Why might you be low on potassium?" Quote, and asked how to store them. When I told the doctor I refrigerated bananas, he said this: "Putting a banana in the refrigerator destroys all its nutrients. The peel, not the inside, has no effect." Quote, after changing my storage method and starting to eat bananas stored in a dry place, my calf pain disappeared in just a month, and my fatigue also decreased. Bananas naturally create new nutrients as they ripen. During the ripening process, they turn into sugars and increase antioxidants. However, refrigeration completely halts this process, rendering them nutritionally dead. How should I store bananas? First, never refrigerate unripe bananas. Let them ripen naturally in the dry place. It's fun to watch them turn yellow. Second, use a banana rack. Hanging a banana reduces the contact area, reducing bruising and keeping it fresher longer. If you lay a banana flat, the part that touches the surface will turn black. Third, wrap the banana stem in plastic wrap. The stem releases ethylene gas, which speeds up the ripening process. Wrapping it in plastic wrap can slow down this process. What if the banana is ripening too quickly and you think it's inedible? In this case, peel it and freeze it. Yes, frozen bananas are great for making smoothies. Oh, but never put the peel in the fridge or freezer. Even if you store just one banana properly, you can enjoy delicious snacks all week long. But the next food might surprise you. It's the seventh of the 7, bread. Many of you put bread in the fridge, right? You worry about it getting moldy. Well, common sense tells you to put it in the fridge. But surprisingly, bread actually spoils faster in the fridge. Why is that? The main ingredient in bread is wheat flour, or flour. This flour reacts differently depending on the temperature. At temperatures lower than room temperature, especially between 0 and 10 degrees Celsius, the dough hardens rapidly. This is scientifically called dough aging. While the term aging sounds like aging, it's actually a phenomenon in which dough molecules crystallize and push out moisture. Simply put, the moisture inside the bread escapes, hardening it like a rock. Research results are even more surprising. They say bread stored in the refrigerator hardens 6 times faster than bread stored in the freezer. 6 times faster, really? But this isn't just about hardening. It also affects our health. Let me give you an example. There's a study published in 2019 by the Department of Gastroenterology at Kyung-hee University. A study of 40 people in their 60s who ate refrigerated bread for 3 months revealed that 28 of them complained of indigestion and abdominal bloating. Why? Hard bread is difficult for digestive enzymes to break down. It's like chewing on a rock. Our stomachs are designed to digest soft foods, but when a hard loaf of bread enters, it overproduces digestive juices. This results in bloating and heartburn. Even more serious is the issue of blood sugar. According to data released in 2020 by a research team at the Harvard School of Public Health in the United States, the structure of refrigerated bread changes, accelerating blood sugar absorption. Simply put, eating hard bread from the refrigerator causes a rapid rise in blood sugar. This is especially dangerous for people with diabetes. The rapid rise and then drop in blood sugar can lead to dizziness and fatigue. This is the story of 67-year-old Ms. Kong Mi-suk, who lives in Jeju. She ate a slice of bread every morning and always kept it in the refrigerator, worried about mold. However, during a recent physical, her glycated hemoglobin level was elevated, indicating pre-diabetes. Ms. Kong didn't eat any sweets and exercised, so she couldn't understand why she had such a low level. The nutritionist questioned her eating habits in detail and pointed out how she stored her bread. Bread stored in the refrigerator changes its structure, causing a rapid rise in blood sugar levels. Since she ate it every morning, her glycated hemoglobin level rose. Another problem is refrigerator odor. Bread absorbs odors like a sponge. If there's a strong smell in the refrigerator, like kimchi or fish, the bread absorbs it. That's why, when she eats it, it smells strange, not like bread. So, how should you store bread? First, store bread that you'll eat within 2 to 4 months in an airtight container or plastic bag. The key is to remove as much air as possible and seal it tightly. Second, freeze bread that will be stored for more than a week. The freezer is fine. Wrap each slice individually in plastic wrap and place in the freezer for up to a month. Third, when you're ready to eat it, transfer it directly from the freezer to the toaster. Don't thaw it first. If you thaw it, the bread will become soggy and lose its flavor. Toasting it in the toaster directly from the freezer will result in a crispy outside and soft inside. Just by properly storing this one piece of bread can make breakfast much more delicious. That's it. Today, I told you all about 7 foods you should never put in the refrigerator. Potatoes, onions, garlic, tomatoes, cucumbers, bananas, and bread. Just by properly storing these 7 things, your family's health can change completely. But, you know, I have a special bonus for those of you who watched to the end. I'll tell you one more thing as a bonus. If you know this, it's something you can use for the rest of your life. It's about honey. Do you ever store honey in the refrigerator? Have you ever had the experience of honey solidifying white and not being able to go into a spoon? Honey is the only food in the world that never spoils. Archaeologists discovered honey in an Egyptian pyramid 3,000 years ago and it was still edible. But we are ruining this perfect food by putting it in the refrigerator. There are 3 problems with honey in the refrigerator. First, it solidifies white. This is because the glucose in the honey crystallizes and becomes hard like a rock. Second, every time you take a bottle of honey out of the refrigerator, water droplets form on the surface of the bottle. When these water droplets enter the honey, the moisture content increases, and the yeast in the honey multiplies, causing fermentation. This causes the honey to turn sour, bubble, and spoil. Third, the honey's antibacterial properties disappear. Research shows that honey stored at 10 degrees Celsius has up to 35% less antibacterial properties. People in the past applied honey to wounds, but honey stored in the refrigerator has almost no such effect. How should I store this honey? The answer is simple. Store it in an airtight container with a string. A cool, dark cupboard out of direct sunlight is perfect. What if the honey has already hardened? Don't worry. Soaking the honey bottle in lukewarm water at around 40 degrees Celsius for 10 to 15 minutes will soften it again. Never microwave it, because it destroys the enzymes and nutrients in honey. Honey is nature's perfect gift. If stored properly, it will never spoil, even for 100 or 200 years. Yes, let me summarize what I told you today. 7 things you should never store in the refrigerator: potatoes, onions, garlic, tomatoes, cucumbers, bananas, breadcrumbs, and even honey, which I mentioned as a bonus, all 8 of them. Take them out of the refrigerator today and store them properly. In particular, remember this: never store potatoes in the refrigerator, but wrap them in newspaper and store them in a cool place. When cooking, keep them below 150 degrees Celsius. This will minimize the production of mold. Store onions and garlic in a mesh bag in a well-ventilated area. They will be safe from mold toxins. Eat tomatoes only after they are ripe and red in the market. Oh, and men, especially if you eat tomatoes for prostate health, never refrigerate them. Yes, wrap cucumbers in newspaper and store them upright. This will help maintain digestive health. Hang bananas on Banana Street. This will really boost your immune system. If you're going to eat this bread within 2 days, wrap it in string. If you're going to eat it longer, freeze it. It helps manage blood sugar. Store honey in an airtight container in the cupboard. This will help maintain good bacteria. This one little habit can completely change your health and that of your family. Open your fridge right now tonight. And if you have these 8 items, take them out one by one and put them in the right place. It only takes 10 minutes. 20 minutes can change 10 years of your life. Let me know in the comments. Which of the 7 surprises was the most surprising? Leave a comment. And was this bonus honey information helpful? Do you have honey in your fridge at home? Let me know in the comments. Your participation is what makes us create better videos. Please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. Please share this video with your family and friends. Your parents will especially love it. Please share it with your siblings and close friends. Your small gestures can protect the health of those precious to you. This health is not far away. It starts with the food you eat today and the small actions you take today. It doesn't require fancy health foods or expensive nutritional supplements. Just storing ordinary potatoes, onions, and tomatoes properly is enough. I hope you all have a healthy and happy day. I'll see you again in the next video. Thank you.